All right. Thank you for your attention. This has been a very impactful experience for me. I'm sure that sentiment is shared with everyone. The stories of different places, but there's a common theme and common struggle of people who just want to live and have a life on their own land. So with that, I am happy to reintroduce uh, Jordan and Ivy Camille for some words after the screening as well. And after that, we'll hear from Pranom from the Protection International, who will be providing some commentary, also sharing the situation of land justice and then land rights, the situation within Southeast Asia and also Thailand. And then we'll do a Q&A session. So if you have any burning questions, please hold on just for a little bit more. So I'm going to pass on the mic to Ivy, Camille, and Jordan.
Well, first of all, thank you again so much for being here, and we're just so thrilled to be in this space and with this community. We worked on this film for 7 years together. We met on Navajo Nation, where Ivy Camille lives. When we met, she was 19 years old. She made an award-winning film that played around the world when she was 13. So when we met, she'd already been an award-winning filmmaker for 6 years. And I'm so grateful to have worked with this brilliant artist. We were a very small crew, a very small team. It was really us and our cinematographer, and of course some other people came on later, our editor, and sometimes we had other camera people, but a lot of times, there would just be one or two of us. Sometimes it was just Ivy Camille and some of the shoots. Sometimes it was me and other people, and we spent a lot of time reaching out to different communities. Of course, we started with Ivy Camille's community, but then we reached out to other communities who were facing similar struggles, and we wanted to make sure that these communities really wanted to be filmed, that they were in a place in struggle that made sense, and ultimately we kind of followed an emotional journey. We knew we wanted to film in Southeast Asia, where there was so much of this extractive industries happening, and we were in touch with communities in the Philippines that invited us in, and we're really excited to host us. Of course, many of those people now are underground right now because of the situation. It's really hard for them. And, as we conceptualized the film, we realized we could really film in pretty much every country on Earth. In every country on Earth, people are facing these struggles, and especially that it's indigenous people on the front lines. And we just followed this emotional journey to decide where to film and who to film with. And, we look forward to your questions, or we can go more into any of that as well.
Yeah, what he said. So this film, I think, was like partially a labor of love and then like partially a labor of spite. A lot of people told us it was impossible and that it would never happen. And we just kind of kept being like, well, that's what you say. Sure. Until it got done, and now we're here. We've been on tour with the film for 2.5 years. It's been amazing to see the amount of support and outreach from other people, but especially within each community. We've gotten to screen in every community, almost every community. We're still in contact, and we still work with all of the folks and people. I think a huge part of our filming process was making sure that accountability played a part. We wanted to make sure that everyone felt heard and felt seen, and that they felt like an accurate, if not just accurate, but I wanted someone to look at the screen and see their home and recognize their home and feel home. And that's what we tried to do. Because that's something that I was always missing from screen as a kid. And yeah, I just really wanted to feel home sometimes, and I never got it. And so this is a way to make that happen. I don't really know what else to say. I'm better at Q&As. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we'll let this brilliant person here talk for a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you very much for
SEA Junction to having me, and also it's such an honor to sharing this with Ivy and Jordan. Certainly, your film is very powerful and wonderful in terms of capture all the spirit. I think the spirit of the resistance. You capture the whole. I mean, Ivy, you said you would like people to feel home. I certainly feel home of the resistance because that it. When I watched this film, in every piece of the people expression, it's deeply connected with a lot of the people movement in the Southeast Asia. So I think it's achieved what you want people to feel. It's home, and also the film is captured a very strong spirit of resistance, the power of the women, the strength of the people, especially indigenous defender. And I just want to, that's a couple of applause. I write something just to make sure keep me in 10 minutes track. So let me go through what I actually reflecting from the film. I really particular move in so many of them, but one of them is where I think the young people making the clay and the artist saying it's a process of making the clay with the fire, with the water, and how you are, resonate with the root, with the earth. And the other piece I love is very much when the women cooking in her temporary kitchen. And it's for her, like, this is my kitchen, this is my territory. Cooking is also resistance. Yeah? You feed the whole army of the resistance. That's very powerful. I can tell, I can get the smell of coconut rice from your film. So it's beautiful place there in every, I think you're very thoughtful of capture a lot of the moment of the resistance. Not just like the front line of the action, but it's a life of the people who've been connected, who've been telling their stories through different parts of it. At Protection International, the organization I'm representing, we are very small international NGOs, but we work to support human rights defenders to developing their preventive security and protection management strategy. But also our work is embedded very deeply with the movement. We also have we collaborate with the diverse range of the collective human rights defender, and we say collective because it can't be individual. It has to be collectively fighting and defending human rights together. We have a team in Colombia, and you can see the struggle from different parts of that as well. And also we are part of the Resistor Dialogue. This is a sub-regional women, rural indigenous women movement who fighting, defending human rights, mostly from anti-mining, but also land rights. It's from Burma, Cambodia, Indonesia, India, and the Philippines. We work with our friends, Lila, the indigenous women, Purple Action, and they work with indigenous women in Philippines and also Thailand. As one of the women in the film said, every community fighting, this fight feels so familiar. As I said, it is familiar. For the grassroots people movement, we have deep connection with different struggles. The film highlighting several tragic, but one tragic you can see the sister of the Ivey captain when she was shot, she killed, yeah, and she killed together with her son. I think when I look at the situation, her son just 5 years old and 15 years old when they killed together with the mom. The Philippines military claimed it was legitimate operation, but as a committee in Philippines say it's massacre, and that's what we said. This incident reflects the impunity that persists in many regions in the world regarding the killed and enforced disappearance against human rights defenders who are fighting to protect their land, the community, and the planet. In Thailand, in our exhibition for those who die trying, and I have the booklet, two of you. This is a booklet of capture the at least 62 grassroots men and women who were killed or enforced disappearance in the past 30 years while protecting the land and the planet. And 99% of these cases remain unaccountable. It means the state, Thai state, failed to hold anyone accountable or responsible of the killing or enforced disappearance. I think it goes the same in Philippines. which is the film already said is deadly, yeah, in Southeast Asia and in the world. At least 300 of them have been killed, and we don't see any accountability of anyone pay for that justice and compensation for the family. Mainly grassroots women I work with in Thailand, they are including indigenous women for the past 9 years. They said at least 600 of them have been judicial harassed. Women under charge by their life consumed by the court appearance. And some of the charges are stupid. For example, indigenous women went to collecting the mushroom in the forest and then they got arrested. Some of the cases, women are fighting and blockade against the gold mining. They're facing 23 cases. It's a long court appearance. They're losing the income and time to continue their work in the struggle. But of course, their role of care of the family and land cannot stop, and they won't stop. So they struggle together of this facing judicial harassment by the many cases are by the state themselves and the big corporation. In the same time, they are caring for the community and the planet and also the family. Yeah. Those who care for the people and the land focus on human health and collective well-being. They never leave anyone behind. Like the government and corporation, sometimes the UN. Even they like to say leave no one behind, but many people leave behind all the time. Yes. The film you're showing one of the struggle in Mexico, I think, about the wind energy project, which harm the community, and when it's done without consensus or the force into the community, yeah, that resonates with our experiences in the community in northeast of Thailand, or Kampalai community. They're fighting against the land grabbing by military. Thailand has been under military for many years, yeah, and still are in many part of it. In this community, they're fighting against land grabbing, but also the wind energy project. And of course, for a lot of middle class in the town, we think the clean energy project is clean, but it's not clean, it's dirty. It is coming from the land, which is taking from the community and the people themselves. And I think that we play a part from that, yeah, questioning a lot about where this energy coming from. And this energy for us, but it's taking away somebody's livelihood and it's not the clean energy. The women in the film said it very clearly, land is life and the food autonomy. And I think many movements in the world also fighting for the land, the food, but also the land sovereignty. When everyone have the right to say what kind of the project they want in the land. Of course, the corporation does not and will never be understand that home and the settled land come with collective spiritual culture. That's what the indigenous community is saying very clearly. But also coming from the collective and political relationship formed over generations. Land is and home is not merely concrete, cement or whatever they said. They can have a new design for us, but it's the foundation of life and the livelihood. And why corporations see coal as the money, it means death for women and the community who fighting against that coal. And the women I work with, I think similar to the women in the film, the women are the first experiences of the harm of extractive operations. They are the ones who the first witness to the water contamination. They will know when the land are degradation and the health impact on their family, because women are performed the care. It's affected ability of the women to provide food and clean water for their community. Of course, it's a lot of winning story as well. As we can see from the film, it's a lot of hope for this movement and people's struggle. In Thailand, we work a lot with the network of people who own mineral resources, and the other organization called PPM. They're monitoring of more than 32 communities in Thailand and working together to shut down the coal mining. And recently, they're fighting against, together with the community in Korat, which is 4 hours from Bangkok. They're fighting against the potash mining. In the northeast of Thailand, we have one community called the Dong Mafai group, resistance they achieved the marvelous victory after 30 years of fighting. They win against quarry mining company. They be able to blockade the road against the quarry mining and be able to reclaiming the mining site back to their control as a territorial. At the moment, their rehabilitation that quarry mining and try to make it community forest again. We also have the land rights defender called the Southern Peasant Federation of Thailand. They also is a model of community land title. Many years back, they managed to get the court to revoke unlawful issue land title against a very big palm oil corporation. This palm oil corporation is number 5 biggest palm oil corporation in the world, which is setting a very big significant standard in Thailand, but also I think Southeast Asia. In the north of Thailand, in Chiang Mai, if you know Chiang Mai, we have Omgoi community. They are indigenous groups, and a lot of them are the young indigenous defenders. They're fighting against dangerous coal mine projects. This case is demonstrate the threat faced by the frontline community worldwide, resisting the fuel, fossils, and the climate destruction. Few years back, this committee winning legal victory when they have the court temporary injunction against the environmental impact assessment by the government and corporation. So they are inspired from hope despite the ongoing threat against the young people in their community. And I love very much in the film, Ivey, you said love, food, language, culture, and the art are all forms of resistance. I think the film beautifully show us the process of, and I think you said decolonize ourselves, also exploring the power of the movement, also questioning the state and corporation responsible. Of course, looking at the resource colonization, I think every one of us here will have to questioning that as well. What is resource colonization mean of us? Electricity we are using here, where it's coming from, how much we have to pay for electricity in Thailand, and that's actually coming from the dam in Laos and in Burma. And the people solidarity across the continent. The inspiration from a lot of community in the film, the Vayu community, I don't think I get them all, the Sub-Botek community, Ivey community, the Standing Rock, and the other community in the film is immense. The commitment to protect the ancestor land and build a hopeful resistance is very strongly captured there. And I think it gives us a lot of the strength to continue with the struggle here. In Thailand, we also try to use, we call art for resistance, to support the women and human rights defenders in countering the increasing of this right-wing approach, but also authoritarian and conservative in Thailand. We try every bit of possible of art for resistance, of building new relative of humankind and hope. This project, for example, we work with the women human rights defender in different community in Thailand to engage, to use the quilting to tell their story. This one we learning from the women in Chile who actually use the quilt to against the resistance of military dictator Pinochet in Chile during that time. So for us, using art as a very powerful medium to convey the experiences directly, I think all of us will need more and more way to expressing those stories of the real people, like the film Ivey and Jordan doing, or the other form of it, because it comes very naturally, can make people feel, can make people have heartfelt, exciting, or angry, or have hope from that. Yeah, and I think this film is very beautifully depicted that truly embodied and a sense of that real spirit of the art for resistance. And I hope we continue. I really hope you can show your film in Philippines. I really hope we have a Thai, what is that, subtitle? That we can show this with the community around Thailand. And I thank you very much for doing this job. And I hope you continue to inspire people around the world, including us here in the room. Thank you.
Okay, we're doing this in English, but I'm assuming there's a lot of Thai speakers in the room. Do you want to say that in Thai? No, summarize it. You know, I feel like we're in Thailand. We should probably the primary language should probably be Thai, right? But do you want to do a little? Are we good with that? We just do like a quick little Thai break, or do you guys like no?
Doing my story in Thai. I think what we try to do, I was writing my reflection of the film in Thai, and we'll put in our website in the Facebook because the community will be actually follow up on that. And as I said, I meant that we really need this a subtitle in Thai so that we can get you back and then maybe tour around Thailand for that.
Just wanted to check. Okay.
Okay, sure. Well, thank you, Kumbi, so much for capturing the impact of this film, showing the many issues and struggles of many communities that has been shared across different continents and communities. Something that we can relate to in the power that we consume and the life that we live in the city, even if it feels a little bit removed. But the food that we eat are from the land. The power that we use are also from the land and from the water and from the wind around us. So that is not something so far removed after all. And highlighting the continuous fight that different communities face and are trying to have to gain back control and power and autonomy, especially with food autonomy and land autonomy to self-determination, I guess. So yeah. Let's open the floor for, before that, another huge round of applause for our director, producer, and commentator today. Thank you so much for your input. And I'm going to open the floor for Q&A. So we'll be taking the question in one go, and then if you have any specific question, any specific commentary, please let us know. The mic will go to you. So.
Thank you very much for this very inspirational film, Camille. And it was a film focused on at the community level, the individual level, the motivation of the actors, of the villagers, the people who are defending their land, what it meant to them, how they live. But the success that they met did not just come from that emotional power. How do they strategize? How do they know how to tackle the immense economic and abstract forces which are actually one dealing the punishment, giving them the big projects which are not benefiting them and benefiting people who don't even know who the victims are. So how do they manage to, what is the process of strategizing and achieving success, which is not really in the film?
Yeah, so I think for every community and every struggle, it really has to be individualized and personalized. In Oaxaca, they could barricade a street with trees, and they could hold these street festivals, and they could spark up and have a conversation and work with various groups around the world on like getting this type of sustainability. On where I'm from, on Black Mesa, okay, so we say that Peabody Coal left. That's like not the truth. I mean, it is, but it's not. So in 2017, Peabody Coal filed for bankruptcy. So the mine they're allowed to mine pre-mined coal for 20 years, so it'll be officially closed in 2037. And so what they did is they went and blew up a whole bunch of extra, and they're still mining, but they fired all the extra people, and they're just mining on a smaller scale, and they also don't have to pay taxes on it. It's weird. So that wasn't necessarily a win, but there was so many outside sources going on. We had people in our own community going to law school, going and studying policy, staying in touch, getting in touch with other communities, working with AIM, which is American Indian Movement, getting outside resources, working with different there's like a specific name of a thing of a group that we worked with that I literally cannot remember for the life of me right now. We also, I think in that I'm so terrible with dates, so I think it was in the 1990s, but I could be completely wrong on this date. Actually got labeled by the UN as like one of the largest genocides is what was happening on Black Mesa. So, I mean, that didn't stop Peabody Poll, but it was like that's what we got labeled as. Like it was a human rights violation. And so we went to every level that we could. And then, I mean, Standing Rock was not a win. The pipeline got put in and immediately burst. The thing with Standing Rock that was a win was that it put so many of us in contact with each other. It really helped us strategize resistance on a social media platform and stance, because that's what made Standing Rock get really big. So it changed that like landscape for the U.S. and I know other countries as well. Yeah, and then like in the Philippines, you know, I'm not saying NPA resistance works for everywhere, but maybe it's something that works for some places. And it always brings up the question, is it more violent to not pick up arms when there's that level of violence being done against you? And so it's always one of those to like remember is that you have to cater to what works for you. There's actually my favorite story is there was this group of women in Preston, England. They were going to do some fracking, and it was going to cause earthquakes if they fracked in this part of northern England. So all of these ladies, they stopped dyeing their hair. They like started wearing like baggier clothes. They would like stop wearing certain makeup. They made themselves look as old as possible. They were young. I've seen them with their hair dyed. They're hot. They're smoking. But no, they would go and they would age themselves up. And then they would go and sit in a field and they would sit in a circle and they'd start knitting. And it'd be a field where they wanted to go fracking. And then when the people showed up, they'd be like, oh no, we've knit ourselves together. Sorry, we're just senile old ladies. And then all the newspapers would be like, police attack knitting nanas. So these women used people's love of their grandmothers to win, and they got fracking banned in this area. And it had actually just gotten overturned when I was in Preston, and they literally were like, time to stop dyeing my hair. We're back at it again. Like, yeah, so it's got to be catered to each place. I think it just depends, but it's also the idea of now we have so much ability to talk with each other, to communicate, and to also learn each other's methods. I think that's partially why, like, at least in the US, they're trying to ban certain social media platforms and certain things. It's because we talk to each other and we learn from each other. And that's so important. So many of our resistance movements, as seen in the film, have been isolated and separated. And those walls are getting really thin. And so I think that's what really, it makes movements.
Thank you. Camille, would you like to share some of the ways that communities have been strategizing here in a more regional context? Like,
I think exactly what Ivey said. It's called stepping stone of the people mobilization. I think the fact that the people who've been fighting, isolating, but they start to come together is a big win. Because the whole corporate and the state want you to feel defeated, hopeless, isolated. You know, all that feeling, but people overcome that. They know it doesn't work like that. The fact that everybody stood up despite it's so difficult, economic hardship, you know, like life under threat and everything, but people do come together. They strategize together, and I think that's the most powerful, and the state and corporations scared of it. That's why they ban social media and they ban political gathering, or when the people all like they try to ban right to association in Thailand. So far, it's not successful. But I think the fact that everyone overcome their fears and seeing as solidarity as the way of coming together, as the movement, as protective network is a winning for people. And also the story of Ivey tell about how the young women are painting themselves to be grandma as a symbolic of fighting, and that show how creative people could be in the struggle. You know, lots of people doing lots of different ways to doing that. The women, the grandma, the auntie in Thailand, when they have to be in the forefront of confronting the police, they rated to catch the balls, and then makes the police scared last time because they're such a size thing. And they said, put me in the front and let them beating me up and everything else. This is all coming from the wisdom, but it's also it's highly political place, yeah. Because then it's a loss of their time have to come together. But I think now when the movement realize this is work for them, this creative movement is actually not just fighting against each project in their community anymore. Everyone are questioning about economic model. They're questioning about political structure. What of political structure of economic model, which is creating this shit in every community. That is the most, I think, scary of the establishment or the elite or the powerful of the corporation. Yeah, but that's something could be changed, and it's big when everyone winning that. And I think the film like this, with Jordan and Ivy created, it gives some hope that as long as you're ready to come together, you have the same goal, you strategize together, winning is possible in every step. And let's go against when people tell you to not doing this film because it's impossible. And that's for me, that's scary for them.
Thank you. I think that's really powerful as well. And yeah, any other question?
Hi, I got the chance to meet Ivy Camille last week at the Flaherty seminar, so glad to see her film. And I think that it's give this very resilient power, but at the same time, for me, it's a very sad movie. To see people have to struggle, to see the heavyweight fight of the people with like the scene that the police stand up on the bridge and look down. It just tear my mind. Make me feel like wow. How long people have to be oppressed, struggle like that, and I don't know. But I think that as filmmaker, you have to do your part as a filmmaker and also as an indigenous people. Do this part, and I wonder if that's going to be a sequel because this kind of story is keep going on and it's still a fight that we do. But let's come to my question. I'm curious. When you introduction, you said that people say that it's impossible, it's difficult to make. Do you know why they think that way? So that's my one question. The second question is that many women featured in this film. Is that by choice or women are the lead of the movement in general? My third question is that do you plan or choose to take location in those places? Or I mean, how that come to be that it has to be in each country? What kind of decision, or you have more options, but that this is only what get into your film.
So that's 3 questions. I'm gonna pass it down to you. Should we do one more question and then we can answer all of it collectively? And anyone have any other questions? If not, then we'll conclude with this 3. All right, that's the 3 we have.
All right, I'm going to leave the first 2 to you, and I'll just say on the third that we had another producer, Eva, who has done a lot of work with mining activism. She did a lot of research. We worked with human rights organizations, including Frontline Defenders, and they were in contact with organizations. So, as I said earlier, we really could film this in every country on Earth. And but we looked for communities that really wanted us to come. So that issue, as Ivy Camille discussed, of consent is really important. We wanted 100%. They wanted us to be there. We were looking at the points in the struggle, the places we're at. And then it was, as we said before, a little bit of like an emotional journey, like what felt right. We knew we wanted to be in that, you know, Southeast Asia was so important in these struggles. We were very close to filming in the continent of Africa, in South Africa, in Morocco. We felt that would have been very important. Of course, you know, we started with Navajo Nation. We had a lot of discussion around Mexico and the wind farms, because on the one hand, it really complicates the story, right? So much of it is about these other kind of extractions, and I think we wanted to show that even this most green of industry, if you are not doing it in cooperation with the community, it can still have a problem. So I think that was probably the one we had the most conversation of whether or not to include it, because it complicates the story a lot. But yeah, it's there were so many. If with more money and more resources, we could film more. And I think that question of money and resources gets to her question, which you can answer, of why people told us it's impossible.
Yeah. Everyone just kept saying like we would ask for funding and we'd like be asking for support, and people would be like, you can't weave together 5 community stories, especially each of these community stories are like so big. And we were like, we know we're not trying to tell the whole story. We're just trying to tell a story all together. And so I think that was the biggest part, was a lot of people were just like, no, you can't weave together 5 stories in one film.
And that we just did it on such a low, you know, we were sleeping on people's floors. We were sometimes just you, sometimes just a couple of us. Or
I know, we weren't renting equipment. It was like my own camera. It was people's own cameras. We were like, it was very low budget. We would turn our budgets into people and they'd be like, you didn't, that's not possible. We'd be like, but if you just gave us like $10,000, we could finish. They'd be like, no way, you're trying to go to a different country. We'd be like, that's right, please help us. So that was a huge part of it, which is like funding. And I think both Jordan and I come from a type of film where we both kind of like guerrilla filmmaked the whole time. And so that's how we make films, and that's why we're so compatible. So when it came to like the larger scale size of this, I think we were like, but we can just make it. And everyone was like, but that's not the way that you're supposed to do it. This isn't like how it's supposed to be done. So we did it anyways.
And her other question was about women in the film, and was that like a deliberate choice, or like is that because women are always in leadership?
Thank you. I do have ADHD, so this really helps me. I sometimes forget stuff. Yeah, so that was not a deliberate choice at all. We just went into the communities and we're like, who do you want us to talk to? Who's in charge? And those are who we got sent to. Yeah, I come from a matriarchal society. My tribe, like, it's always through the women. And so it wasn't until we were screening for people, and they kept being like, there's so many women in your film, that I was like, really? I never even noticed. Had no idea. Yeah, so I that was not a conscious choice at all. It's just what happened. Just what I'm used to. Maybe that's partly also why it happened. But yeah, that was it.
Well, I think that's even more impactful that it organically happens that way, and also highlights the role of women and also LGBTQ people as well. I think in the Philippines there is a mention on how this is also a space where people who are rejected almost from the heteronormative society go and do their part in defending their land and like trying to get their own like autonomy back. We have one last question over there for conclusion.
You opened the topic of funding, so I was just wondering, how are you able to make this international trip? You're going around several countries to get U.S. government funding, not USIS, or so how can you manage to network with all these countries and make this great trip? Enlighten us all.
I think both Jordan and I like a good scam. So yeah, there were times when people would be like, "Oh, we'd really like you to shoot in this community." It would be like, "Cool, they just told us we could film there," or like you'd like pitch a story, and be like, "Wouldn't it be great?" we shot the story for you. You buy all of our tickets, you rent equipment from there for all of those things, and then you go in and change the ticket date back like a week. And then so you're done filming their stuff 1 weekend, and then you stay for an extra week and you film on your own equipment and like completely separately. But all you're paying for is that change ticket and maybe like hostel. Or yes, it's not a friend.
So like what Ivy Camille is talking about, like we filmed like a story for Al Jazeera, and we're able to get Al Jazeera TV network to fly us somewhere and did extra filming. We filmed a story for this show called The Laura Flanders Show and the Telestore Network, and we're able to do extra filming there. So it's just a lot of piecing together I mean, this is why people say it's impossible. It's just a lot of piecing together low budget work and happen. I just want to say I just feel so incredibly like seen and understood. Like I like the way you were talking about the film, it just felt then like the different kinds of resistance. It felt so, and even just what you just raised about the like people outside of heteronormativity. I think that is really a theme throughout the film in every community we're with, and we didn't like put an arrow pointing at it in the film, but it's there's a lot of queer people in this film, and it's not just like women leading resistance, but it's queer people leading in resistance, and we didn't necessarily always make that clear and obvious in film. It's a part of it.
If I can come in a bit, I think when Ivy said she's from the multicultural society, yeah, which is it's organically women is in charge of it. When in Southeast Asia, we have to ask all the time why all the men in the panel, or why this film it have so little women voices, or the queers, or the non-binary. Exactly, it's the other way around, isn't it? If you are in the society when the women in charge or already inclusive, then it's come organically. But if you are in society like us, who women has to be inclusive, non-binary, queers, everyone have to be inclusive from different religions, social status, language, and that's become obviously, yeah. That I think that's something quite interesting. I like to just the last point. I like it when people said it's impossible. It's happening the same time when PI want to do the For Those Who Die Trying project, because it's a capture all the killing and for disappearance in Thailand. Luke, our collaborator, the photographer, have to drove 10,000 kilometers around Thailand, and that's require petrol and money and everything. But I think the main problem is not very much about money. It's about they can't imagine what's possible. And that's what is so wonderful about this film and the struggle is you two and the team are showing what's possible. And that I think it's going to be possible for the young filmmaker, activist, the women or the other who like to do similar what to do. That I just want to conclude that.
Thank you all. I think that's a wonderful conclusion to our discussion today. Thank you for choosing to screen this with us. And this is also one of the things that we do here at SEA Junction, telling different stories, using art to spark conversation, very much like what we have done today with this film and this discussion. SEA Junction is also a nonprofit venue. So we run on mainly donations. So please don't forget to put some in the box over there and over there before you go out. We also have some snacks and teas on the table. So please grab some, hang out, and continue the discussion before you leave today. Thank you so much for your support. We have more upcoming events around the theme of development, art, and culture all month long. To keep up to date with what we have next in store. Today, thank you so much, Jordan, Ivy Camille, and Kun Pranom for your storytelling, your comments, and for sharing with us your thoughts on the film. We hope you have a very good night. Thank you. Hope to see you again soon.